right, good morning and welcome to Newspaper Review on Lagoon Radio, broadcasting live to you from Marina, Lagos. My name is Simidi. Okay, it's a beautiful Wednesday morning, and are you feeling all right? If you're feeling good, hope you're feeling fine. I'm not here alone. I'm here with Jennifer Jubril, aka Jennifer Jubril, and we'll be doing the review together today. We have quite some number of newspapers today. We have the Blueprint papers, the State of the Leadership, National Economy, Nigeria Tribune, Nigerian Pilot, New Telegraph, Daily Trust, and so on and so forth. So we'll try as much as possible to cover up what we have today. The first paper we'll be reviewing today is the Blueprint papers, and on page 6 of the Blueprint papers, tumultuous welcome as Blueprint publisher Malagai declares governorship bid. Wow. That's on in Niger State, and the writer to that says equip state APC with 31 Sharon cars and 43 million naira cash. Wow. Can continue reading on page 6 of the Blueprint papers. This is also on APC chairmanship. Consensus remains our best option, Buhari declares. Says past chairman product of consensus, and governors ratify zoning March 26 convention. And Okorocha says, let's allow President Tinubu decide NWC. You can get all of that on page 6 of the Blueprint papers. And on COVID-19, federal government launches skills, integrates vaccination with childhood immunization. Wow. So that means as children are getting their immunization, they are getting vaccinated as well. So I think that's actually a good one. Rolls out Johnson and Johnson single dose. So instead of the double dose, once you take the Johnson and Johnson single dose, then maybe you can now go for your booster. I think I read that this morning. So I think that's a good one. You can get all of that on page 5 of the Blueprint papers. On page 23 of Blueprint papers, petrol price to rise on back of fresh NNPC charges, report says. We have two major headlines on page 7. Cocaine deal, court orders NDLEA to detain DCP Kyari and 6 others. I think we read that in the news this morning, and they were to be detained for another 14 days. Still on page 7, this on 2023, Kwankwaso, Galadima, Alkali, others launch TNM. And moving on to page 8, our roads, rail projects prevented trekking from Lagos to Ibadan, says Buhari. Says Buhari. Okay, and moving on to page 9, ex-minister Sarah Ochekpe jailed 3 months over 450 million naira fraud. Just 3 months. Okay. Then moving on to page 22, Federal Bank of Nigeria partner CDC Group boost women-owned businesses. That's actually applaudable. You can read more of that on page 22. And lastly, on Blueprint papers, expert comments FIRS on new automated tax system on page 22. That'll be all for the Blueprint papers.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Simidi, let me tell you people good morning. So I'm saying good morning.
Whatever.
Duh. Okay, thank you so much for that one. With me is This Day newspaper. And the first headline on the front page, we have Nigeria, Iraq kick against hike in OPEC oil output as prices surge towards $100. You can get that on page 10. PENCOM opposes withdrawal of police from contributory pension scheme. And you can get that on page 6. Still on the front pages, Buhari, federal government's rail project easing commuters' hardship on Lagos-Ibadan route. And you can get that on page 8. We have ECOWAS rejects Mali's 5-year transition proposal. And the writers to that says plans recapitalization of regional bank, military regimes, and aberration in sub-region, says Jonathan. You can get that on page 10. The major headline on these days newspaper is citing emergence of previous chairman Buhari Okay's consensus for APC convention. The writer to that says El-Rufai denies division among colleagues, confirms they initially disagreed but now on same page. Party zones offices, adopts PDP formula, swaps positions between North and South. Chairmanship goes to North Central. National Secretary, South West. You can get all of that on and more on page 10 of this day newspaper. And at the bottom of the paper, we have at launch of third force, Kwakwanso promises better deal for all Nigerians. You can get the full story on page 45.
All right, moving on to the Daily Trust papers. Kwankwaso, Yakasai, Dalong, others form third force to wrest power. This is on, I think this as regards 2023 elections.
Yeah.
You can get more of it on page 14 of the Daily Trust papers. And on page 4, families granted access to detained BDC operators. Then on to page 6, this is on Desani's loot. Ex-minister Ochekwe, others jailed. Boldly written on the front page of the Daily Trust papers on 2023 presidency. South set to pick APC tickets as North gets party chair. Buhari wants new chairman through consensus. We were divided on timing of convention. El-Rufai. As zero-sum game ongoing, says Professor Kari. And right at the front page, can see a picture of an aircraft. This is on the Fair Hike. Airlines record low booking as passengers shun flights.
He go shock them.
Like seriously, because okay, like the plane is virtually empty.
See,
really.
it would be empty. Imagine some airlines that were helping our lives, right? And we book ahead and we enter for as low as 25,000 naira.
Mm-hmm.
And that 50k is a round trip. People were it was helping compared to the exorbitant rates we are already paying for road transport and the number of hours we have to spend on the road. Lagos to Abuja, the road is very bad, like very, very bad. Ordinarily, you should spend 10 hours Lagos to Abuja by road. But because of the bad roads and the insecurity, you find yourself spending about 15, 16 hours and you're paying about 15,000 naira. So air was helping us.
Yeah.
And now they've decided to make it 100% increase. Who will fly? Don't worry, they will come back. Ajudabile.
Okay, that's all about the Fair Hike. And on page 8, 470 Boko Haram insurgents' families surrender in Borno. And on to page 26, tension in Osun as cultists kill 7 youths. Wow. Then on to page 27, Buhari says, our Lagos-Ibadan road rail project saved Nigerians from trekking. That'll be all on Daily Trust papers.
Okay, with me is the leadership. Court jails ex-minister, 2 others, 3 months for 450 million naira fraud. 3 months, sha. You can get the full story on page 10. APC governors accept new convention date zoning formula, and that's on page 6. We have Russia-Ukraine crisis. Oil price nears $100 PB, highest since 2014. I was saying this thing, I think on Monday, that this Russia-Ukraine saga is going to affect the whole world. Mm-hmm. Take it or leave it. Some people are beginning to make it look like it's none of their business, that they are in Nigeria and they are in Africa. He's going to touch everybody. He's already touching everybody. You can get the full story of that. We have a little bit of the story on the front page of the leadership, but you can get the full story on page 7. Kwankwaso Yakasai orders form third force ahead of 2023. That's on page 7, another third force. Okay, let's see where this one takes us to. The major headline is on on the full story of the major headline is on page 4, and it reads 7 days to go. Pressure mounts on PMB to sign electoral bill. And the riders to that says CSOs embark on aggressive protest against delay. PDP fingers top government officials. It may be signed in a matter of hours, says presidency. Again, you can get the full story on page 4. FG World Bank launched additional $176 million recovery project for Northeast. You can get that on page 11. And on page 9, NAS votes on Constitution Review report next week. Still on the leadership strike, Rev'd urge FG and NASU to adhere to MOU. Full story on page 10. And we have some images, protest kind of images, banners showing different things. We have one saying President Buhari hashtag sign the electoral bill. So I'm very sure this has to do with the delay in signing the electoral bill that has also prevented the release of the electoral timetable for the election that is going to happen in about 1 year from now. I mean, we're in February already. Yeah. Today's 23, and the general election is set to happen next year, February, and we don't have a bill signed or a timetable. May God help Nigeria. That's all I would take from the leadership.
Okay, moving on to Nigerian Tribune. The major headline is on APC zoning. North gets chairmanship, South to get presidency. And the writer to that says, as party agrees to swap offices between North and South, Buhari favors consensus, says Bagudu. As APC won't collapse after Buhari, says Lalong. And PDP says postponement of APC convention explains Nigeria's shambolic state. On to page 26, government set police station on fire, killed 2 policemen in Imo, as 2 security guards killed by gunmen at filling station in Ogun. And on page 14 of the Nigerian Tribune, Lekan Balogun to be installed Olubadan on the 11th of March. That's a very big congratulations to the new Olubadan. Then the finance minister says on page 6 of Nigerian Tribune that Nigeria to sign $3.3 billion loan agreement for 10 projects. As page 14 is carrying the Abakari and all that. I think we've taken that before already in the previous papers, as the court permits NDLEA to detain Abakari and 6 others for 14 days. And on to page 15, Constitution Review says Senate to vote Tuesday, Reps to vote on Wednesday. You can continue reading on page 15. And still on page 14, back to page 14, Reps grill importers of adulterated fuel as 3 firms deny allegation of importation of toxic petroleum products. That'll be all on the Nigerian Tribune.
Okay, I have Nigerian Pilot with me. Court sentences ex-minister Ochekwe and others to 3 months. That's on page 8. ASU strike to end soon. FG assures on page 7. And the major headline, boldly written in red, failed. Like, failed. Boldly written in red. The writers to that says 37 out of 74 prospective PEMSECs fail compulsory examination in federal civil service.
Wow.
Exam requirement for their upgrade, subsequent appointment as PEMSECs. They scored below 50% and can't proceed for ICT proficiency test. As OHSF initiates process for appointment as new permanent secretaries. You can get all of that on page 8. So basically, the people in office wanted promotion and they fail exam. Okay. So still on Nigerian Pilot, National Convention, APC governors agree on zoning. This has been a major headline across almost all the newspapers we've taken today. You can get more stories on page 6. PDP accuses APC of plotting to orchestrate constitutional impasse. That's also on page 8. And on page 5, airfares hike. Senate tells federal government to declare state of emergency on roads.
Wow.
Wow. Okay, does that sound like a good one?
Yeah,
But then it would make the hike in airfare justified.
Yeah, it would because the thing is, I think it depends on why is what's the cause for the state of emergency.
Roads are not safe.
Yeah, roads are not safe, and at the same time, is air safe? Nowhere is even safe.
No, but then there's no kidnapping inside the sky. You can just be driving on the road and they just say, "Hey, you stop there, carry your car." Oh, God, She's just trying to tell me that I should stay in my house.
Yeah, please, just stay
in my house. Okay.
It would be rare for someone to come and kidnap you in your own house. Except if the person has been sent.
If they happen,
no, that's what I said. Except the person was sent. Like purposely sent to go to you Bree's house. So
no, please, no. Go to Oke's house. Go and carry. Okay, so at the bottom of the paper, we have court orders Abakari orders be detained for additional 14 days. That's on page 9. Alleged 2.9 billion naira loot. Ex-governor Okorocha shuns court arraignment. This man, that's on page 6. Kwakwaso, Dalong, Galadima, and others form third force. That's on page 5. And the last headline on the bottom of the paper: oil price nears $100 PB, surpasses $62 per barrel. Nigeria's 2022 budget benchmark. Can get all of that on page 5 of the Nigerian Pilot.
All right, I'll be taking the New Telegraph briefly. CBN credit to private sector declines to 35.45 trillion naira. You can get that on page 2 of the New Telegraph papers. And Rev'd says to federal government on ASU, respect MOU and strike. ASU strike, this is on ASU strike. And the federal government says ASU strike will end soon. That's an assurance by the federal government. So you can get it on page 2 and page 7. And still on page 7, this is on Russia versus Ukraine. Federal government warns citizens against traveling to troubled region. Then court okays further detention of Kyari. I think this is actually making one of the things. I think the order of more days of detention of Kyari and his should I say accomplice, then the verdict on Ochekwe. I think that it actually was making the major headline on today's papers. So this is looming implosion of APC, PDP. Fringe parties aim to reap mole leadership rejig. As the writer stood that says, third force coalition imminent, says Okuni, as why smaller parties can battle APC, PDP, CNPP scribe says, restructuring doable, says Kwankwas's faction. The federal government plans for the 3.53 trillion naira infrastructure human capital development, approves 14 additional roads as a 78 billion naira tax credit issued to investors. You can get all of that on page 3 of the New Telegraph papers. Convention party leadership Buhari meets APC governors, calls for consensus as PGF chair Bagudu says we are united behind president. And El Rufai says we've agreed on zoning arrangement. Can get all of that on page 3. And lastly, on New Telegraph on page 8, study reveals that air pollution could reduce sperm quality. That'll be on New Telegraph papers.
Why did I shout that wow like that?
Yeah, maybe because it actually sounds kind of new, like
new, because nobody actually thought of it.
No, to me, whatever comes into your body, whether through inhalation or through contact or whatever, it's capable of causing anything. So I think I have to agree to that, and I'll do more research on that personally.
Yes, please, health talk. Al Jazeera midweek. I almost said weekly. Al Jazeera Nigeria midweek. Smeden Partners 3 cores enables SMEs easy access to funds. That's a good one. We have a little excerpt of the story on the front page of the newspaper, but you can get the full story on page 11. We have Zamfara Deputy Governor absent as impeachment panel closes hearing. That's on page 10. We have federal government to spend 3.53 trillion naira on infrastructure and human capital. That's also on page 10. And on page 17, AWCON qualifier Alcon, Super Falcons, Lady Elephants in make or mar match today. That's on page 17. And the major headline for 2023 elections, third force emerges to battle APC and PDP. The riders to this, Kwankwaso, Buba, Galadima, Solomon DeLong and others formed third force. APC zones chairmanship slot to North. APC zones chairmanship slot to North. Buhari supports consensus, says Bagudu. You know, when you read APC, default setting, PDP comes alpha. That was just what happened to me. You can get all of that on page 8. And on page 28, we have NDLEAA gets approval to detain Abakari for 2 more weeks. That's on page 28. Dirty Fuel, Reps Grill, MRS Oil and others on page 27. And lastly, on page 27, we have Court Jails, Ex-Minister Ochekwe and 2 others. That's all from Al Jazeera Nigeria Midweek.
All right, thank you, Jennifer. I'll be taking the last newspaper for today, and that's the Nigerian News Direct. Nedo Gas NCDMB commissioned 300 Kwale gas gathering facility. That's on page 16 of Nigerian News Direct. And this on Alliance Africa to register mild economic growth in 2022. That's on page 2. And still on page 2, VDT CEO wife donate ICT center to Kwara Secondary School. That's actually an applaudable one. And the major headline, this is on 2023, Buhari, APC governors agree on zoning, approve South for presidency, party chairmanship office to North as arrangement simple, equitable zoning formula, says El Rufai. Another writer says delayed convention fallout of APC in fighting, says PDP. You can get all the details on page 4. And I'll be taking this again. This is on the 450 million naira Diezani bribe. Ex-Minister Sarah Ochekwe, 2 others to spend 6 years in prison. And this is from the Nigerian News Direct. You can get the full details on page 2 of the Nigerian News Direct. VIN valuation, agents protest, cripple port economy. That's on page 13. And I will rewind to page 2 as Senate confirms Executive Director nominees of Nigerian Petroleum Regulatory Authority. I want to know about the confirmation. Check page 2 of the Nigerian News Direct. And lastly on Nigerian News Direct, 2021 GDP, a fact-based projection proved World Bank, IMF wrong, says BMO. That's on page 4 of the Nigerian News Direct. I think that'll be all on today's newspaper review. Do join us same time tomorrow for another fresh and interesting newspaper review on Lagoon Radio. Don't forget, we're still on Facebook at Lagoon Radio Nigeria, on Instagram and Twitter at Lagoonradio.Ng, and of course our YouTube channel on LagoonTV. And by 10 a.m. we'll be having the Moment of Truth by the Venerable Henry Adelegon. Do stay connected to Lagoon Radio. Don't go anywhere. To have a blessed, nice, and lovely day.